श्री स्वामीनारायण भगवाननी जय। अक्षर पुरुषोत्तम महाराजनी जय। गुणातीतानंद स्वामी महाराजनी जय। प्रमुख स्वामी महाराजनी जय। महंत स्वामी महाराजनी जय। प्रमुख स्वामी महाराज शताब्दी महोत्सवनी जय. As part of the Pramukh Swami Maharaj Shatabdi Mahotsav celebrations, we are studying Pramukh Swami Maharaj's detailed Jivan Charitra in depth through this Abhyas. Until now, we've covered most of the book, and we're covering the last 50 pages through L over these 2 weeks. This is covering the latter half of 1970 and 1 month in 1971. So last time we finished off where Yogiji Maharaj was in Gondal, Pramukh Swami Maharaj was in Vicharan. And Eva Santa Shiromani Kya Made? And Yogi Bapa explained to Hakka Bapu and those in the Sabha, Eva Santa Shiromani Apra Pramukh Swami Che. So Yogiji Maharaj was explaining on many different occasions, at whatever opportunity arose, explaining the Mahima of Pramukh Swami. So we're starting with L25. While Yogiji Maharaj was in Gondal, Pramukh Swami was in Bochasan, where he celebrated Kartik Punam. Bochasan is our Gadistan, where Shastriji Maharaj built the first Akshar Purushottam Mandir. And Bochasan ma tron mukhya Punam ujwai છે. Usually in the presence of the Satpurush. Chaitri Punam in April, Pachi Guru Punam usually in July, and a Kartik Punam is usually in November. But because Yogi Bapa was resting in Gondal, he had sent Pramukh Swami for that festival in Bochasan. Pachi Swami continued his Vicharan to Mumbai, where Mahant Swami also warmly welcomed him. And then from Mumbai, a group of sadhus under the leadership of Pramukh Swami, which included Dr. Swami and some other sadhus from Mumbai, they departed for Kolkata on the 2nd of December. This was for the groundbreaking ceremony for a new Hari Mandir. We heard how when Yogi Bapa had gone in 1968, Sankalp કર્યો હતો કે અહીં ભવિષ્યમાં મંદિર થાય. So they had found a place for the mandir, a small mandir, Hari Mandir, and the groundbreaking ceremony was done by Pramukh Swami on the 3rd of December. There were very few Hari Bhaktas at that time in Kolkata, and Epan Dhamdumthi a groundbreaking ceremony થઈ ગઈ. And then we know that 2 years later in 1972, Pramukh Swami Maharaj himself did the Pratishtha in Kolkata. Swamishri and the sadhus, they stayed at Hari Bhakta's places and did many padramris. They did a lot of Kathavarta every single day as well. And Pramane, they nourished the Hari Bhaktas and the well-wishers who lived in Kolkata. So going on to L26, while Swamishri and the group were in Kolkata, the important tithi of Magshar Sud Atham came up. Magshar Sud Atham is the 8th day of the bright half of the month of Magshar, the Janma tithi of Pramukh Swami Maharaj. The tithi is constant, but the dates vary from year to year. So Magshar Sud Atham that year fell on the 6th of December. 2 years earlier in Mumbai, Yogi Bapa had celebrated Swamishri's 48th birthday. And he had given Agna then. Yogi Bapa તો એકદમ ઉત્સાહમાં આવી ગયા હતા કે આ રીતે દર વર્ષે આ ઉત્સવ રાત્રે 12 વાગ્યા સુધી ઉજવવો અને શાનદાર રીતે ઉજવવો. So when the sadhus realized, who were with Swami, there were only 5 or 6 of them, they felt that because Yogi Bapa had given Agna 2 years ago to us to celebrate Pramukh Swami's birthday, they also felt that today is Pramukh Swami's 50th birthday, Suvarna Jayanti kehvai, his golden jubilee, so we must celebrate it. So they spoke to a few local youths and the Hari Bhaktas, and the Hari Bhaktas were ecstatic. Look, it's a chance to celebrate the golden jubilee in the presence of Pramukh Swami, because everyone respected him so much, even though Yogi Bapa was the guru. And they arranged for the celebration to happen in a Hari Bhakta's house, Dr. Chandrakambai Thakkar's house. And they decorate the house. They lit 50 candles. They did not inform Pramukh Swami. They also arranged for a cake. Bapa at the time was doing Padramris in the city of Kolkata. As soon as he entered the house, he realized what had happened, that these guys are, making plans. And immediately, Bapa, he reprimanded his Sevak Sant. Why are you allowing this to happen? Amnetam, he started. But બીજા બધા હરિભક્તની આગળ બાપા બહુ બોલી શક્યા નહીં, because he saw that the arrangements had already been made. અને કદાચ મંદિર હોત તો બાપા could have, taken steps, but આ હરિભક્તનું ઘર હતું. So Bapa just let it be, and he sat silently in a corner. લખ્યું છે કે સ્વામીશ્રી ખિન્ન થઈને બેસી રહ્યા. And so in the evening, when they had this inverted commas ma Janma Jayanti Sabha, Dr. Thakkar, he spoke, some of the Santos spoke, Dr. Swami also spoke, and Dr. Swami also explained, look, this is one of the first times I'm actually doing Vicharan in this country with Pramukh Swami, and I realized in this Vicharan that Yogi Bapa na vachane aje temne dena chure chura kariya che. He's like least bothered about his body. He has surrendered his body for the sake of satsang. Deeni darkar kyare karij nathi. He has never ever cared for his body. This was the observation of Dr. Swami at that time. The Yuvaks already had prepared a certificate, a handwritten certificate, and they also presented that to Bapa. There was the cake cutting ceremony, also the candles, and Bapa was obviously felicitated with a garland. પછી ત્યાં બેંગાલી એક મિષ્ટાન છે called Sandesh. Bapa also distributed that to the Hari Bhaktas who were present. And then at the end, when Bapa was asked to speak, again he started on a very serious and solemn way. And he said, it's true that all of you, tamne prem che, mahima che, but Bapa said, પણ આ બધું મને શોભે જ નહીં. This does not befit me. And then he explained, like he explained in Mumbai in 1968, કે અત્યારે તો યોગી બાપા ની જ વાત હોય. મારે, તમારે, બધાએ એક જ વિચાર કરવાનો છે કે યોગી બાપા કેમ રાજી થાય. તેમને રાજી કરવા તમે સૌએ મંદિરની સેવા કરી તે જ મોટી વાત છે. Again, he appreciated the Hari Bhakta seva, but he explained that we should only have one focus, Yogi Bapa. How we can please him, how we can follow his Agna. So Eritepan again, Bapa explained in his very humble way that please only focus on Yogiji Maharaj. I am nothing. And he said, Amane Shobe Nei. Going on to L27. Again, Swami was in Kolkata. And another prasang happened again in Gondal. This time, Vartal no Dasmu Vashtamut was being read in Gondal. And this was Bopanni Katha. So Yogi Bapa પછી કથા કરે. અને એમાં આવે છે કે ભગવાન જ્યારે અવતાર ધારણ કરે ત્યારે સાધુ રૂપે પણ આવે અને રાજા રૂપે પણ અમુક ફેરે આવે. પણ એમાં સાધુ રૂપે હોય ત્યારે 30 લક્ષણ હોય છે સાધુના. The 30 characteristics of a sadhu. So when Yogiji Maharaj heard this Vashtamrat, he said કે આવું સ્વરૂપ કોણ? આવું સ્વરૂપ કોણ? So obviously the Hari Bhaktas, the Santos in the Sabha said ke Bapa up, it's you. Who else can it be? Ane wakate again Yogiji Maharaj said in his own style ke એવા તો અમારા પ્રમુખ સ્વામી છે. માટે એમને રાજી કરવા અને એ કહે તેમ કરવું. Another important Ved Vakya. Yogi Bapa explained ke એવા તો અમારા પ્રમુખ સ્વામી છે. Such is our પ્રમુખ સ્વામી. Therefore please him and act according to his wishes. So again we see that Bapa, meaning Yogi Bapa, was always looking for some occasion where he could explain the glory or the mahima of Pramukh Swami to the sadhus and the devotees. Going on to L28. Again, this is another prasang from Gondal. Yogi Bapa was at the Akshaderi without any context. Yogi Bapa started saying કે આપણે કોસિન્દ્રામાં મંદિર કરવું છે અને he said બામણ ગામમાં આપણે પારાયણ કરવી છે અને આ બંને કાર્યો પ્રમુખ સ્વામીના હાથે થશે. We want to build this mandir, we want to do this parayan, and both these tasks will be accomplished by Pramukh Swami. So again, Yogi Bapa was indicating, he was basically relieving all his workload, his seva to Swamishri, and saying such precise words to instill the glory and mahima of Pramukh Swami in the hearts of all the santos and the devotees. Then once again, Yogi Bapa, he talked to Gunwant Dani. Again, he was in Gondal, and it was Punam that day. So then Yogi Bapa remembered Punam and Bochasan. He knew that Swami was in Kolkata at the time, but then he said કે 10,000 હરિભક્ત આવ્યા હશે બોચાસનમાં, પ્રમુખ સ્વામી ત્યાં બેઠા હશે સભામાં, પૂજન ચાલતું હશે અને મને આ રીતે આ બધી સ્મૃતિ થાય છે. So again, Yogi Bapa took that opportunity to speak about Pramukh Swami. And then again, when he had a dream, again, these are just simple dreams, simple prasangs, but it just gives an idea how Yogi Bapa was constantly remembering his beloved Shishya. And he said on the 18th of December after he woke up, કે આજે મને સ્વપ્ન આવ્યું, આનંદ મંદિરના ઉપરના મેળે પ્રમુખ સ્વામી બેઠા હતા અને વાતો કરતા હતા. He was sitting on the upper floor in Anand, the mandir, અને પછી I went upstairs to the upper floor of the building. So again, time and time again, Yogi Bapa was just remembering his Shishya, his beloved Shishya, Pramukh Swami. Now we're going back to where Swamishri was. After the groundbreaking ceremony in Kolkata, Swamishri, he stayed there for 10 days and ત્યાં પધરામણી કરી, sabha કરી, and gave impetus to the Haribhaktas, to the satsang activities in Kolkata. And then Bapa went to Banaras by train, and then he went to Ayodhya and Chapaya again for darshan. Maharajની બધી પ્રસાદીની જગ્યા હતી, ત્યાં પણ દર્શન કર્યા. He also went to the Ram Janmabhoomi when he returned to Ayodhya after Chapaya. But he went to Faizabad, Jaunpur. Now these are places in the middle of nowhere. Very few Haribhaktas. Papa ત્યાં પધરામણી કરી. He also established a satsang mandir there. But he went to Prayagraj and bathed at Prayag Tirth. પછી કાનપુર પહોંચ્યા. ત્યાં પણ satsang sabha થઈ. અને ત્યાં પણ Bapa established a satsang mandir. So all these small places outside Gujarat in northern India, Pramukh Swami spread awareness of satsang to the very few devotees that resided there. And eમાંથી we know that years later ત્યાં satsang started flourishing. Again, after Kanpur, Bapa, he reached Delhi. And then after reaching Delhi, he spent 5 days there, went to Kurukshetra, then to Punjab. He went to Ludhiana. Again, he did a public sabha there, went to Amritsar, had darshan at the Golden Temple, and then went to Jalandhar, ત્યાં પણ પધરામણી કરી, returned to Ludhiana and also did a sabha and established a satsang mandir. So these states were covered by Bapa, Haryana, meaning Delhi, and also Punjab. And then Bapa, he returned to Delhi on the last day of 1970. We all know that પછી ધીરે ધીરે ત્યાં સત્સંગ પણ થયો અને બાપાએ પણ સંકલ્પ કર્યો તો વર્ષો પછી. અને just 3 or 4 years ago, માનસાઈ મહારાજે પણ ત્યાં જલંધરમાં પ્રતિષ્ઠાપન કરી. So now we go on to the final year of this Jivan Charitra Part 1, 1971. A very significant year in the history of BAPS Swaminarayan Sanstha. So going back to Pramukh Swami, again after leaving Delhi, on the first day of the new year, he went to the auspicious Prasadini Jagya of Gokul, Mathura and Vrindavan, which had all been blessed by Krishna Bhagwan. Went to Agra, પછી Jaipur, Rajasthan, Amer, Pushkar, Bilada, Pali, and then he reached Ahmedabad on the 8th of January. We'll take a little bit detail on these dates because Yogi Bapa, he passed away on the 23rd of January. So for the whole of December, Bapa's been out of Gujarat, and his Vicharan finished in Ahmedabad in Gujarat on the 8th of January. On the 7th, he was in Rajasthan. And after this Vicharan, now Bapa was in Ahmedabad on the 8th of January. Obviously engaged in Satsang Sanstanu Karya because Ahmedabad was like the head office, even though a lot of activities were going on elsewhere. આ બાજુ in Gondal, Ishwacharan Swami and Balubai Brahmbhat, they were arranging for the preparations for the upcoming Yuva Adhiveshan. Yogi Bapa wanted a Yuva Adhiveshan to happen in Gondal. And this was to happen in May 1971. So Ishwacharan Swami and Balubai, as one of the lead Karyakas, they both came to Yogiji Maharaj in Gondal to show him a circular which explained details about the Adhiveshan, ke Adhiveshan thashe, ema shu shu karwanu che. And Yogi Bapa, they basically just wanted to show it to him to get Ashirwad. And Yogi Bapa, he looked at the circular and he was happy. And then Yogi Bapa, after looking very closely, reading every single word, he inquired with a subtle smile on his face. So Yogi Bapa, he asked, hasta hasta, કે આમાં પ્રમુખ સ્વામીનું નામ ક્યાં છે? Where's Pramukh Swami's name in this? So immediately Ishwar Swami Balubai, they said, કે બાપા અમે ભૂલી ગયા. We forgot. એટલે again Yogi Bapa said, Guru, no બોલવું. આપણે એમનું ગૌરવ વધારવાનું છે. માટે બે શબ્દ ખાસ ઉમેરો. That you should not forget, we have to spread his mahima. So add a couple of words. That's all that Yogi Bapa instructed. Now, on this side, the organizers, Ishwar Swami, the Karyakas, they were quite, in a hurry to publish the circular. Because only after the circular was published, printed, then they could distribute it, and then instructions regarding the Adhiveshan would reach the Yuvaks who were going to take part. And then they can start, preparing for the various competitions or the Mukpat. So when they told Yogi Bapa, okay, look, we are in a rush, this will cause a delay, so, please just let it go this time. So Yogi Bapa, he said to Ishwar Swami, કે ભલે તમારે ઉતાવળ હોય, કે you may be in a hurry, પણ આ પરિપત્ર પ્રમુખ સ્વામીને બતાવીને તેમની સૂચના લઈને પછી જ છાપવાનો છે. So one, Yogi Bapa said, કે add Pramukh Swami's name. And when they asked him again, okay, we're in a rush, we can't really change it now. Tyare Yogi Bapa said, okay, no, you may be in a rush, but you must show this to Pramukh Swami, take his suggestions, and only then you publish it. So Ishwar Swami again very politely, he said, okay, look, Pramukh Swami is in Vicharan at the moment. He was in Delhi at the time. So again, this was the end of December. And hજુ તો ઘણી બીજી જગ્યાએ જવાના છે. He's still going to go to Rajasthan and other places. So by the time he gets to Ahmedabad in Gujarat, it will be a few days, so the whole thing will be delayed. So again, Yogi Bapa, in his usual style, he said, કે ચિંતા નહીં કરો, અધિવેશન સર્વોપરી થશે. કોઈ વાંધો નહીં આવે. Nothing will happen. No issues. પણ પ્રમુખ સ્વામીને ખાસ આમાં ભેળવવાના છે. You have to include Pramukh Swami. And so he said, માટે મુંબઈથી મહંત સ્વામી અને અહીંથી તમે અમદાવાદ જજો અને meet Pramukh Swami, take his suggestions, take his guidance, and only then must you print the circular. તો યોગી બાપાએ આટલો બધો આગ્રહ રાખ્યો, એ પણ આપણને ખ્યાલ છે કે why? Because we know that only a few months later, or actually 1 month later, Yogiji Maharaj, he passed away to Akshardham. And the Adhiveshan was actually held in the presence of Pramukh Swami, Swamishri in Gondal in May 71. It was then that everyone understood why Yogi Bapa had insisted that Pramukh Swami nu naam Umero. Everyone only understood that at that time. So Pramukh Swami was in Ahmedabad, and then from Ahmedabad he had gone to Bochasan. Then Yogi Bapa was resting in Gondal. But on the 13th of January, again another significant date, the 13th of January, ke Yogi Bapa, he had a heart issue and his health deteriorated. Immediately, Pramukh Swami, Dr. Swami, they were in Bochasan at the time, so they rushed to Gondal. Mahan Swami and some of the Santos also rushed from Mumbai. So આ બધા Gondal પહોંચી ગયા by the evening of the 13th of January. And then on the 14th, it was a festival of Uttarayan, Makar Sankranti or Jori Utsav. So that Utsav તો ના ઉજવાય, પણ એ વખતે બધા જોડી માગતા હોય છે. But there's an explanation in the Jivan Charitra, just like the sun was to transition from one Rashi to another. So for the Sampradaya as well, the following 10 days were to signify a crucial phase of transition. And Yogi Bapa, on that day of Uttarayan, he actually entrusted his personal daily puja to Pramukh Swami. Because Yogi Bapa was obviously resting in bed. Sponge bath ne બધું લેવાય, પણ વ્યવસ્થિત આ રીતે નવાય નહીં. એટલે Yogi Bapa gave his puja to Pramukh Swami from that day onwards, on the 14th of January, કે તમે આ રીતે મારા વતી પૂજા કરજો. આપણે કહીએ છીએ કે હરિકૃષ્ણ મહારાજની સેવા Pramukh Swami started from that day, from the 14th of January. And then, despite his illness, Yogi Bapa was resting. He would still look after and remember the Santos and Haribhaktas, especially Pramukh Swami and Mahan Swami. So once he also said, ke Bhakti Kishore ne kejo, ke Pramukh Swami ne chana na ora jamare, ke ask Bhakti Kishore Swami to feed roasted gram peas, oro, to Pramukh Swami. And you can see that Yogi Bapa was remembering Pramukh Swami despite his illness. Swami was in Gondal, પછી મોટા માણસ આવે, like Babubai Jashbhai Patel, he came. He was to be the future chief minister of Gujarat. So he also came to check on Yogi Bapa's health. So Yogi Bapa told Pramukh Swami, make sure you give him prasad, look after him, make sure you feed him. Ek sannyasi પણ એક દિવસ આવ્યા, the day after. And it just arrived out of nowhere. Again, Yogi Bapa told Swamishri, make the arrangements for him. So Swamishri was doing all the running around. And then on the 16th, Yogiji Maharaj also told Swamishri, make a note of je Haribhakta seva karta hoy છે ને થાળ માટે. તો એ પણ Yogi Bapa, even though he was ill, કે ઠાકોરજીની સેવા શું આવે છે આ થાળ માટે અને ગોંડલ માટે, એ પણ Yogi Bapa he told Pramukh Swami to make a list and show it to him. On the 17th of January, the Sant Mandal of Tyag Vallabh Swami, we know that Yogi Bapa had sent Tyag Vallabh Swami and 3 other Santos to America to do satsang. And they actually landed on American soil on the 31st of August. ત્યાં 2-3 મહિના વિચરણ કરીને they came back to London. Then they were in Africa. And Swamishri, again this is Swamishri આપસૂચથી બાપાએ વિચાર કર્યું કે આપણે તાત્કાલિક સંતોને બોલાવી લઈએ, કારણ કે યોગી બાપાની તબિયત સારી નથી. So he asked Tyag Vallabh Swami and the Santos to return immediately to India. Otherwise, they weren't going to return that early. So they returned, and by the 17th of January, they were in Gondal, and Yogi Bapa na darshan pan karya. Yogi Bapa khub raji thaya, because this was the first time that any sadhus of the Swaminarayan Sampradaya had set foot in America. So Yogi Bapa એમને પણ આશીર્વાદ આપ્યા હતા. And then, because of Yogi Bapa's health, updates were being released at that time through radio, and a lot of people also flocked to Gondal. કદાચ દૂરથી દર્શન થાય અથવા પ્રદક્ષિણા કરી શકાય. દર્શન કદાચ ન થાય કારણ કે Yogi Bapa would have been resting in his room, પણ બધા પ્રદક્ષિણા કરી શકે, પ્રાર્થના કરી શકે. તો એ પ્રમાણે અમુક વખત Yogi Bapaની તબિયત સારી થઈ જાય અને અમુક વખત આ રીતે it would deteriorate again. So this was his health was basically unstable at the time. And now we move to L32 and the 18th of January. So again, Yogi Bapa, he would speak to the Santos, the Sevaks, and a gammat pan karta. Right till the very end, Yogi Bapa gammat karta. He passed away on the 23rd, but Vicharan Swami pan prasang કહે છે of the 22nd કે એમને જૂની સ્મૃતિ પણ કરી હતી. એટલે on the 18th, the Santos, they prayed to Yogi Bapa. They said, Bapa, ke rogne ghatma nakhi do. Ke, get rid of this. So Yogi Baba said, Ghatma hoi, Ghatni peli par. Even beyond that, get rid of it for good. પછી યોગી બાપા લીલા કરીને કહ્યું એકદમ રંગમાં આવીને યોગી બાપા said કે હવે 2 દિવસમાં મટી જશે. It will be better in a couple of days. અને પછી soon after that, on the same day, Yogi Bapa wished to meet હર્ષદ કાકા, હર્ષદભાઈ દવે, પૂજ્ય ઈશ્વરચંદ્ર સાંઈના પૂર્વાશ્રમના પિતાશ્રી. અને હર્ષદભાઈને આ રીતે બોલાવીને પછી યોગી બાપા softly said to him કે હવે દેહ નહીં રહે, કે this body will now not remain. And obviously Harshad Bhai was a little bit stunned, extremely worried. He folded his hands and he said ke Bapa, ke amaro આધાર તો આપ છો, you're our sole support. તો આપ નહીં હો તો ત્યારે અમારું કોણ? If you're not with us, then who is ours? તો again immediately Yogi Bapa said કે પ્રમુખ સ્વામી છે ને કે મારા કરતા સવાયું સુખ આપશે. Again, એવા સંત શિરોમણી કોણ? એવા સાધુ રૂપે ભગવાનનું સ્વરૂપ કોણ? તો again, અહીંયા યોગી બાપા said કે પ્રમુખ સ્વામી છે ને મારા કરતા સવાયું સુખ આપશે. He will shower supreme bliss. Savayu actually literally means 1.25, but it means that much more than number 1. તો એ પ્રમાણે યોગી બાપાએ આ વાક્ય હર્ષદ કાકાને કહ્યું on the 18th of January, another extremely significant statement. Going on to L33, the same day, it was the 18th of January, and this is now at night. Yogi Bapa, he remembered Mahan Swami and the sadhus of Mumbai, and then suddenly, એકાએક તેઓ બોલ્યા. He said, Pramukh Swami to maru sarvasva છે. અને પછી he had a couple of sips of milk, and પછી he went to sleep. So again, another Ved Vakya, કે Pramukh Swami to maru sarvasva છે. Pramukh Swami is my everything. So again, so many instances where Yogi Bapa was explaining in no uncertain terms, extremely clearly, spashta rite, ke his successor is Pramukh Swami. And then because Yogi Bapa's health was causing a lot of concern to everyone, they had arranged for a specialist, a heart specialist, who had come all the way from Mumbai. Other doctors had already come from Gujarat, but Dr. Modi had come from Mumbai. He stayed in Gondal for 1 day, provided the necessary margdarshan, treatment, but he also advised that Yogi Bapa must be taken to Mumbai for appropriate treatment. Gondal ma su kari shakai. So that was his professional opinion, and after giving that opinion and meeting the senior sadhus, Pramukh Swami, Mahan Swami, Sant Swami, Barmukund Swami, he then returned to Mumbai. And then the following day, Swamishri, Sant Swami, Barmukund Swami, Mahan Swami, they'd all met together obviously with the doctor, and then they asked Yogi Bapa, કારણ કે Yogi Bapa ની રજા વગર તો કાંઈ ના કરી શકાય. And obviously to keep Yogi Bapa in Gondal or to take him to Mumbai where further treatment could be provided. So they asked Yogi Bapa with devotion કે આપની જો ઈચ્છા હોય અને આપ જલ્દી સાજા થઈ જાઓ તો જ મુંબઈ જવું છે. Obviously the representative on behalf of everyone was Pramukh Swami as the most senior son there. અને ડોક્ટરે ભલે કહ્યું છે, ભલે Dr. Modi has said, but આપની ઈચ્છા હોય એમ જ કરવું છે. This was their bhakti to Yogiji Maharaj. Okay, even if the doctor has insisted on it, we don't want to do anything without your wish. તમારી ઈચ્છા હોય, રુચિ હોય તો જ આગળ આપણે વધવું છે. So again, these decisions had to be made by Yogi Bapa, the senior santos, and obviously everyone was very worried. Jivan Charitra khub sari te lakhyu che. They wanted to hear Yogi Bapa's melodious voice. They wanted to see his smiling face and any enu sharir doltu hoy. They wanted to experience his dabba. They wanted those flowers that Yogi Bapa used to toss to them after his morning puja. They looked forward to the prasad that Yogi Bapa would give to them and say, Lo prasadi. And many days had passed since Yogi Bapa had given them this sukh. But everyone was first and foremost concerned about Yogiji Maharaj's health. And they all were worried, Su thashe. And Yogi Bapa, he made the decision after the Santos requested him, and Yogi Bapa said, કે ભલે કે આપણે મુંબઈ જવું છે અને મુંબઈ જવાથી સારું થશે. All will be fine on going to Mumbai. So once this decision was taken to go to Mumbai, it was decided that Yogi Bapa will be flown from Rajkot to Mumbai on the 21st of January. So just before leaving for Mumbai, Yogi Bapa was leaving his beloved place of Gondal. It was around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And with a heavy heart, Yogi Bapa bolya ke Gondal chodvu padshe. We will have to leave Gondal. And he was having his final darshan. Ke Bhagwanna darshan kare mandirma and Akshadarima. So Akshadarima, Yogi Bapa was literally on a stretcher. And પછી થોડાક બેઠા થયા અને છેલ્લી વખત ગોંડલમાં અક્ષદરીના દર્શન કર્યા. And Pramukh Swami also garlanded Yogiji Maharaj here at his beloved place of the Akshadari. Yogi Bapa, who had used to perform the Mahapuja in the Akshadari for many years, and he had performed the Mahapuja for Bapa's Diksha, Pramukh Swami's Diksha as well. And he was being garlanded by that same Narayan Swarup Das for the last time ever. But Yogi Bapa did pradakshinas of the Akshadari again for the last time. Yogi Bapa did darshan of Sastri Maharaj's murti behind the Akshadari again for the last time. And Yogi Bapa, who used to talk to the murti of Ghanshyam Maharaj, this was to be the last darshan of Ghanshyam Maharaj. So no one knew at the time that this was to be Yogi Bapa's last darshan. But they all lived in hope. કારણ કે યોગી બાપાએ કહ્યું હતું ને કે બધું સારું થઈ જશે. એટલે પછી યોગી બાપા left Gondal, went to Rajkot, and by flight he reached Mumbai. From the airport he was immediately taken to the hospital, Bhatia Hospital. અને Bhatia Hospital ma room number 208. That's where he was taken. અને બધી વ્યવસ્થા Pramukh Swami had done. And badi vyavastha થઈ ગઈ. Only then Bapa then came to, Pramukh Swami came to Dadar. Now all the santos in Dadar, they were obviously very concerned as well. So Swami sat them all down and he gave them all shantwan. He consoled all of them. He told all of them કે Yogi Bapa ની તબિયત સારી થાય એના માટે we brought him to Mumbai. એટલે તમે બધા પ્રાર્થના કરજો. Everyone perform one extra mara in your daily puja for Yogiji Maharaj's health. So that was the 21st of January. And then the last sub-chapter that we're covering today, the 22nd of January. The 22nd of January in 1971, after finishing his routine at the mandir, Pramukh Swami, he reached the hospital from Dadar. Again, after Yogi Bapa woke up, Bopore, ત્યારે he remembered Pramukh Swami. Sanje pan yad karya. Now, everyone was trying to give Yogi Bapa rest, so there's no need to unnecessarily, disturb him. But Sanjay Yad Karya 3 times. And Yogi Bapa, he said to Pramukh Swami, he said to his sevaks, ke Pramukh Swami ne bolavo. He told Pramukh Swami, come close to me. And then as Swamishri went close to Yogiji Maharaj, Yogiji Maharaj said, ke apne vaat karvi che. And e wakat, obviously, mindful of Yogi Bapa's health, Yogi Bapa was also quite breathless at the time. So Swamishri extremely politely said, કે બાપા આપણે પછી વાત કરીશું કે હમણાં તો આપ સાજા થઈ જાઓ, that when you get better then we'll talk. And Yogi Bapa immediately accepted that. He agreed to Swamishri's suggestion because he was having difficulty speaking. પછી શાંતિથી Yogi Bapa, he slept. અને પછી Yogi Bapa went to sleep for the night. And Swamishri, he returned to Dadar Mandir. He hadn't even returned. It was 11 o'clock at night. So some of the sadhus were worried. And, many of them probably went to sleep, Mara karta karta. Tyagwallabh Swami, Ghanshyam Prasad Swami were both still awake. And because they were waiting for Pramukh Swami to come, because Pramukh Swami hadn't eaten. You know, he hadn't taken a packed lunch or anything. And he'd eaten in the morning a little bit of breakfast, and pachi he'd left in the morning for the hospital. So they were worried that Swami, it's 11 o'clock and Swami still hasn't come, Pramukh Swami. And then just soon after 11, he entered the mandir and he went to the kitchen. The sadhus took him to the kitchen. And obviously, Swami looked serious. The sadhus were also serious in the sense that they were worried that, you know, Yogi Bapa ne kahin thayu che. And then Swamishri sat for dinner. Again, he reassured the sadhus, even though he was quite quiet. But he said, "Ke look, aje Bapani tabiyat ema thodo thodo sudharo thai che. Etle Swamishri's health, ele Bapa's health is improving." And the doctors have said, you know, in a few days' time, 8 days or so, saru thai jashe. And everyone is serving to their full potential. But khare page seva atyare kari રહ્યા છે. So this also relieved the sadhus. And then the sadhus, they started worrying about Swami. They said, look, you've hardly eaten, and you're hardly eating anything now, and you had eaten breakfast, you've not eaten anything after that. So you can hardly call this a meal. And then je Swami bole che, again, he was totally Guru Pradhan. Pramukh Swami said, કે આપણી ક્યાં વાત છે? કે this isn't about me, is it? કે આપણે બધાએ ધૂન કરવી, પ્રાર્થના કરવી, બાપાને સારું થઈ જશે. તેમના ઘણા કાર્ય બાકી છે, તો તેઓ જ પૂરા કરશે. So you know, there's so much work left that he will do that. તો આ રીતે પણ આશ્વાસન આપ્યું. But then Swamishri also said, કે આપણને બાપાએ રમાડી, જમાડી, સેવા કરાવી, ખૂબ સુખ આપ્યું છે. તે સ્મૃતિ આપણે કરવી. કે સત્પુરુષે આપણને સુખ આપ્યું છે કે રિમેમ્બર દેટ અને બર રાખવું, બધાએ બર રાખવું, એ સાથે જ છે અને સાથે જ રહેવાના છે. તો એ પ્રમાણે he gave these words of wisdom to the sadhus. આ પ્રમાણે, you know, Swami is looking after Yogi Bapa's health. એની પણ ચિંતા કરવાની. પછી how to console the sadhus, young sadhus હોય, the Hari Bhaktas, એ પણ that was all on Pramukh Swami's head. So imagine કે સ્વામીશ્રી was doing all this. એક બાજુ યોગી બાપાની તબિયતની ચિંતા કરવાની, એક બાજુ બધાને આ રીતે આશ્વાસન પણ આપવાનું. પણ Swami took that all on his shoulders and in his stride as the Pramukh of the Sanstha and as an ideal Shishya of Yogiji Maharaj. So we've covered up to the 22nd of January, and next time we'll start with the 23rd of January 1971. Swami Narayan Bhagwan Ni Jai.